The film opens in Tibet, where we find Johnny English, the once disgraced British spy, now living in seclusion after failing a past mission. He's training under Tibetan monks in martial arts, discipline, and endurance. His exercises are extreme, being dragged through the snow tied to yaks, walking through fire, and having to fight a strong monk. The training is meant to build his strength and focus, though Johnny's clumsy nature often undercuts the seriousness. Meanwhile in London, MI7 is undergoing changes. Pegasus, the head of the agency, is preparing for an important mission involving global security. MI7 is informed of a plot to assassinate the Chinese premier during peace talks, and they decide to bring English back into the fold despite his checkered past. Back in Tibet, Johnny is finally deemed ready to return to the field. His monk master tells him his training is complete, though in humorous fashion, the master points out that Johnny still has a long way to go spiritually. English is eager, proud, and desperate for a second chance to prove himself. Soon after, English is contacted by MI7 and summoned back to London. He returns, a little overconfident from his training, but determined to restore his reputation. Arriving at headquarters, he's reintroduced to modern spy gadgets and technology, though his outdated habits make for clumsy interactions. He meets his new assistant, Agent Tucker, a young and enthusiastic agent who looks up to him. Soon, they fly to China and track down an important contact who has information about a planned assassination attempt on the Chinese premier. The two land in Hong Kong and make their way to a glamorous casino, filled with flashing lights, crowded tables, and wealthy high rollers. Their instructions are simple but vague: meet a man with glasses. That's all they know. Tucker spots a bespectacled man at one of the gambling tables and points him out, but Johnny is convinced that their true contact is a different man nearby. Ignoring Tucker's instincts, Johnny marches confidently to the wrong table, where he begins trying to engage the man in secret agent banter, failing to realize he's speaking to the wrong person entirely. Meanwhile, the real contact, sitting next to him, has been targeted. Before Johnny and Tucker can correct their mistake, the man with glasses is swiftly assassinated. In the chaos, Johnny discovers a clue, a hotel room number linked to the victim. The agents rush to the man's room and find another contact waiting for them, Titus. He explains that a powerful underground group known as Vortex is behind the assassination plot. He shows Johnny a strange key, claiming he's part of the organization but has turned against them. Because of that betrayal, Vortex wants him dead. Before he can reveal any more names or details, the elderly assassin disguised as a harmless building cleaner silently sets up her weapon outside. She fires, and Titus is killed instantly before finishing his warning. As Johnny and Tucker scramble, they realize the key is missing. Johnny spots the thief escaping and gives chase. The pursuit barrels through hallways, up staircases, and eventually onto the rooftop. The thief scales the building, climbing down the side, while Johnny, refusing to be outdone, races for the elevator, beating him to the ground floor. Tucker joins Johnny as they continue the chase through the busy harbor. The thief takes off in a small speedboat, forcing Johnny and Tucker to commandeer a yacht. Johnny tries out one of his flashy new MI7 gadgets, firing at the boat and knocking the man into the water. The pursuit ends on the harbor's edge, where Johnny and the thief clash in close combat. The man is skilled, but Johnny's intense Tibetan training finally proves its worth. He unleashes a flurry of martial arts moves, besting not only the thief but also the backup goons who arrive to help him. With pride restored, Johnny reclaims the key. Later, Johnny and Tucker board a flight back to London, guarding the key carefully in Johnny's briefcase. During the flight, a polite male air host approaches and offers to store the case. Johnny hands it over without question, but Tucker notices the name tag written Susan, and realizes something is off. He warns Johnny, but Johnny brushes him off, assuming Tucker is overthinking. Back in London, they meet with Pegasus at MI7 headquarters. Johnny opens the briefcase dramatically to reveal the key, only to discover it's gone. Shock hits him as he realizes Tucker had been right, the so-called air host wasn't who he claimed to be. Flustered and embarrassed, Johnny suddenly spots the old assassin disguised once again, this time in the building. He lunges, only to discover he's actually grabbed Pegasus' elderly mother. Furious, Pegasus orders him to apologize to her in the kitchen. Johnny complies, humiliated, but as he apologizes, he realizes too late that this time it really is the assassin. Tucker walks in just as she flees, leaving Johnny once again appearing incompetent. Desperate, Johnny rushes after her but mistakenly tackles Pegasus' mother a second time, digging himself even deeper into humiliation. Weeks later, Pegasus sends Johnny to a psychological specialist, Kate, to determine if he's mentally fit for duty. During their session, the therapist uses hypnosis techniques, snapping her fingers to guide Johnny back into his memories. He's forced to relive his greatest failure. Years ago in Mozambique, he had been assigned to protect the country's president but failed, leading to the president's assassination. As he replays the memory, he notices figures he had overlooked before, 3 men who were part of a secret discussion. Among them was Titus, and another, a man named Karlenko. The trail now points to Karlenko. MI7 sends Johnny and Tucker to track him down at a golf club tournament. Johnny approaches Karlenko directly, trying to play it cool, though their conversation is anything but subtle. Watching from a distance, the old assassin sets up her rifle, waiting for the perfect shot. Johnny and Karlenko begin a round of golf, trading banter. But before Karlenko can say too much, the assassin fires, and Karlenko is hit. Johnny and Tucker immediately scramble, rushing him into a helicopter and flying him to a nearby hospital. There, Karlenko, weak and dying, gives Johnny the second Vortex key and reveals something shocking. The third member of Vortex is a mole inside MI7 itself. Karlenko dies, leaving Johnny with another piece of the puzzle he has to solve. Later, Johnny is summoned to a high-level MI7 meeting. Around the polished conference table sits the Prime Minister himself, along with Pegasus and other senior officials. The Prime Minister addresses the room about the upcoming talks with China, stressing how vital the meeting is for international stability. As he speaks, Johnny, who has been sitting on a malfunctioning chair, accidentally breaks it. Instead of handling it discreetly, the chair lifts him higher and higher above the table. The room grows visibly uncomfortable, the Prime Minister looking on in irritation while the other members shift awkwardly. Johnny, oblivious to how ridiculous he looks, tries to act serious while wobbling above everyone. When the Prime Minister asks about his progress against Vortex, Johnny straightens up. He explains that Vortex is made up of 3 members, but 2 have already been eliminated. The last surviving member, he says, is a mole embedded within MI7 itself. His statement causes concern, and the Prime Minister gives him a strict 24 hours to uncover the identity of the traitor. That evening, Johnny meets his longtime friend and fellow agent Simon at a quiet restaurant. Johnny produces the ornate key he obtained from Karlenko and shows it to him, explaining its importance. Without Johnny realizing it, Simon is actually the traitor. Playing on Johnny's trust, Simon casually steers the conversation toward Patch, claiming that Patch has always had it out for Johnny and could easily be the mole. Johnny, eager to believe someone has been plotting against his career, falls for Simon's deception. Simon then asks to hold on to the key for safekeeping. Johnny hands it over without hesitation. The moment Johnny leaves, Simon calls MI7 and plants the seed that Johnny himself is the mole, turning the tables on him. The next day, Johnny tracks down Patch at a church. With misplaced confidence, he confronts him, accusing him of betrayal. Patch, baffled, insists he has no idea what Johnny is talking about. Before the conversation can go further, gunfire erupts. Johnny dives for cover, hiding behind Patch, and manages to escape as MI7 agents close in on him. In desperation, he commandeers Patch's wheelchair and uses it as a getaway vehicle, racing through the streets before slipping away. Later, battered and exhausted, Johnny stumbles into Kate's apartment and collapses. When he regains consciousness, Kate explains she has been reviewing footage from the Mozambican president's assassination. She's noticed something unusual. The guards and security seem to be acting under a strange influence, not their own will. From this, she concludes that Vortex's secret weapon is a powerful mind control drug. Johnny thanks her for cracking the key piece of the puzzle. Grateful, he prepares dinner for her, and as the two sit together, a quiet intimacy builds between them. They lock eyes, about to kiss, when a knock interrupts the moment. Kate opens the door to find Simon standing there. He tells her MI7 needs them immediately and urges her to leave with him. Johnny hides out of sight, but the encounter jogs his memory. He flashes back to Mozambique, remembering the 3 men behind the assassination. Among them was Titus and Simon. The realization hits him, Simon is the 3rd member of Vortex. Before Johnny can act, the old assassin disguised as a cleaner bursts in, ripping through the door. Johnny dives through a trash bin to make his escape. Regrouping, he tracks down Tucker and the 2 travel to Switzerland, where Simon is believed to be operating. They attempt to sneak into his heavily guarded compound but are discovered. Thinking fast, Johnny instructs Tucker to punch and shoot him, superficially, so they can pose as captives. The ploy works, and they gain access to the facility. Inside, Simon executes his plan. During a formal reception, he slips the mind control drug into Pegasus' drink, aiming to enslave her influence and authority. Johnny intervenes just in time, drawing his gun and accusing Simon of being the traitor. He warns Pegasus about the drink and, to prove his point, downs it himself. But the drug takes hold instantly, hijacking his body. Later, when the Chinese premier arrives, Johnny, now under the drug's control, is ordered to assassinate him. His body moves against his will, weapon in hand, but Johnny fights with every ounce of his training, forcing himself to resist. In a chaotic moment, he collapses before striking, giving Simon a chance to slip away. Kate rushes in, kissing Johnny, and the surge of emotion breaks the drug's control. Johnny seizes a parachute and launches himself from the building, chasing Simon. The pursuit leads to a brutal fight in an elevator shaft. Johnny manages to grab a gun and corner Simon, but in the struggle he tumbles out, landing in the snow below. Thinking fast, he deploys his gadget umbrella, transforming it into a makeshift explosive. He fires it upward, detonating the elevator and killing Simon in the blast. Weeks later, Johnny is honored once again by the Queen, officially reinstated as a knight. But at the ceremony, disaster nearly strikes. He realizes the Queen standing before him is the disguised assassin. He dodges at the last second as she bolts from the hall. Johnny leaps after her but, in his usual fashion, bungles the pursuit, tackling the wrong person, the actual Queen. Please make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.